Welcome to a brand new episode of Get Real with Casey Kasem. It's the podcast that takes a look behind the scenes of the fantasy football industry through interviews with some of your favorites in the business. Joining me for this episode was Steve Lawson from In Between Media. He's also a Patriots creator for High Point Sports and Personal Corner. Steve and I chatted about finding fantasy football for the first time, his college experience, possibly marrying art thieves, coming out on social media, writing about all different kinds of topics, not just fantasy football, and a lot more. Make sure to follow Steve on Twitter, or X, at Steve_Lawson93. You can follow me on Twitter at @DCaseyKasem, as well as the podcast at GetReal_pod. This podcast is a proud member of the DAP Network. And now, here's my conversation with Steve Lawson on Get Real with Casey Kasem. Me too. I'm excited. Excited. There's that word again, but I am. So, Steve, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Long day at work today, but nothing I can't handle. It's another day in the life. I honestly am so excited to be here though, because it feels like I'm meeting a celebrity. I've been a fan of yours for so long. It does. I
appreciate that.
Sometimes I run into people and I'm just so hyped.
Well, I'm glad I get to sit down and talk with you, especially because we were talking before the show about how don't really know you like I know some of the guests that I've had on. So I'm excited to kind of get to know you and hopefully learn more about you and just, watch you continue to grow, because that's what this show is all about, is helping people grow. And we're going to start off because the audience is the most important part of this whole entire journey. If it wasn't for all of y'all, this podcast would be probably 3 episodes long, and then I would have never done it again. But the fact that people listen and so I just appreciate that. So we have Steve with us, and first and foremost, this world of fantasy football is so amazing, but also the world of football is as well.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, did you watch sports, or what was your relationship kind of like with sports?
So growing up, I played sports growing up a lot. I did it. It just kind of was a thing that my family was really big into, was sports. I didn't love the NFL growing up, though. I didn't fall into the fantasy football world until I was in college at Florida State. And I did it because my friends did it. And so it's jokingly say to people, I'm like, when you your friends offer you heroin and you don't really expect to be a heroin addict, but then you do, right? That's kind of where I'm at with it. Cause now I'm a junkie for fantasy football, and all my friends are like, Steve,
totally.
I came home, I come home, and there's the circle of chairs, and they're like, we need to have a talk. You made 30 trades last year. You need to chill out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't understand.
Somebody's going to get on that train someday and come up with some sort of fantasy football intervention like that, where you do walk in and your wife's like, look, or your boyfriend's like, look.
Yeah,
I exist in fantasy football.
Dangerously close. I thought I was the nutcase, right? So I'm I was in 30 something leagues a few years ago. And I've heard people be like, oh yeah, I'm in 100. And I don't care if they're all best ball. The fact that you sat down and did 100 drafts, I'll sponsor you, man. We'll get you.
I don't know if I have enough time in the day for all of that. And I feel good now that I know exactly how many I'm in. I'm not it's between 40 and 50. I don't really know.
Right. And my dad used to say to me, he's like, aren't you kind of rooting against yourself being in that many leagues? You must have every player. So no matter what happens, you're kind of mad. And I'm like, I really only care about one league. I only care about my league with my friends that I did in college that still goes. They actually flew up here to Boston this year for the first time ever for our draft. We usually fly into Florida. We all get together and do that. And we got to come up to Boston. I had them all come up, housed them all. And it was such a fun time. And it's such a cool thing to be able to do with my friends. I just turned 30 this year, as most of us have, my friends. And
and most of us have,
not most of us in the world. I feel 30 is not the most common age on earth, but maybe it is, who knows? And I to be able to say you're still best friends with your best friends. My best friend from high school is my best friend. And then all my college friends are still my closest friends. And I think that's really special to still have that relationship together all these years later. It's just amazing to me.
I mean, that is amazing. I love to see the relationships that continue to grow with the fantasy football league and just being in a league with people forever. I'm in one that I've been in a league with these people that I've known since elementary school, but we started up a league. It is so much fun to see. And you brought up the experience of going to college and being able to start really focusing on football and fantasy football.
Yeah.
Then how did you actually stumble into fantasy football anyway?
So to playing it, I had done a couple leagues when I was in high school. But honestly, sports, like you asked, like what was my relationship like with sports? For me, like sports was a good way to cover up and stay in the closet. Honestly, that was like a really safe space for me to be able to be like, nope, look, like not typically, any sort of stereotype or anything like that, which I look back on now and I'm like, oh my God, that's so stupid. Right. But you're a kid and you're doing what you have to do to like get by.
Right.
And so fantasy football started taking off at that time. And I was like, all right, that feels like the logical next step. I got invited to a fantasy football league. I should just do it. And it turns out that I'm like, this is the best game on earth. Like, it's so much fun. And so I started to tweet about it a little bit. And then was like, I was an English major in college. I love to write. So I started writing articles. I had applied to a site. I got on. I started writing articles. One kind of hit. And then I kind of caught the bug for like talking football. And that's been it ever since. And so I've kind of developed this like other side of me that like my friends and family don't interact with that much on social media, that I get to do things like this. And I tell them about it and they're like, when is this happening? Because like, when are you sleeping? And I'm like, I just don't. And I love it. It's so exciting to meet so many wonderful people in this space. And this space has its ups and downs, as you know, as most people who kind of navigate through it know. And right now I would say I'm on a really good up and things have been going really well. And it comes after a hard down, but like, it's all good, like.
Yeah. I mean, as you go with Twitter or X or whatever they're wanting us to call it, I keep calling it Twitter, but then I'm hearing people slowly change to X and I'm like, when am I going to conform and do it and just do it? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll see.
I wonder the same thing.
The internet is a good place because of all the people that I've met from the community as well. And it's a horrible place if, for finding trolls because they're all out there, right? And so you've got to learn how to like curate your feed and figure out who to mute and what to block and what words to mute and all this other stuff. And it seems like a whole lot of work, but once you finally get to the point where it's nice and curated correctly, then you're like, okay, cool. I missed out. Like somebody was talking to me yesterday about something I didn't hear about. It was some sort of drama. And I'm like, oh, I didn't hear about that. Cool. I don't need
spill it though. Like,
yeah, right. I mean, yeah. If you want to give me the deets, that's totally fine. I don't get real and spill the beans, but
no, I don't do that either. But I always say this, right? Everyone's always like, I hate drama. And like, I think that's always a lie. I love drama. Let me tell you right now, I love drama. I don't like being a part of drama.
Yeah, I like it if it's not me.
Right. If you have tea to spill, sit down. Pour a cup. I'll gladly share a biscuit or two with you and just listen. Love it. Love it. I'm so bad about it.
Well, no, I get it. It's something. How about that? It's it's fun because we've got the community as a whole. Most people have been nothing but awesome. So how did you, we'll actually go back because I wanted to find out why you actually decided to major in what you decided to major in. And if that has been a good decision for you where you're currently at.
No. So short answer is no. So I decided to become an English major. I was going to be a teacher. And then life happened. I kind of got really sick in college and I shifted to becoming a nurse. And that's what I do now. And I actually am starting up in the emergency room. I'm at orientation this week for that. But I've done psychiatric community care dealing with homeless and mentally ill patients for the last 4 years now doing that. I was an EMT before that. I worked in group homes before that. And so psych has really been and mental health has been a huge part of my life for the last decade or so.
That, mental health thing that everybody wants to be taboo about, but now it's really cool to see people opening up more, especially after like COVID hit, and I think that really, that really
Yeah,
got to us.
it did. It put everyone in their feels like real hard. And I think that's good. I think we all needed to be in our feels a little bit because it was so taboo. You didn't talk about it. Like you never talked about your mental health or how you were doing. Like it, and you should, right? Like there's no reason not to. Like if I had a broken arm, I wouldn't hide the fact that my arm was broken, right? Like you
Right.
used it as like a status thing, right? Like sign my cast.
Sign my test. I never did that, so I didn't
Like
get that.
I never got to like have the broken arm, and I was always like, oh, like that happens. But mental health should be treated just like any other medical ailment, and we're seeing more and more, and I'm like, you'll never hear me bashing like Gen Z or Gen Alpha or anything like that either, because I think what they're doing is just absolutely like the fucking balls, dude. Like I think they're so cool. Like they're so open about that. They're very like, hey, like
Yeah.
this is the real world. Like we got to talk about this stuff, and I think that's just awesome. So I've always been a advocate for that, and I will always advocate for mental health and respecting people's journey and struggles.
Indeed, I feel like there's a big portion of the fantasy football community, at least on Twitter, that I've seen open up and share more and more,
Huge.
and to
Yeah.
support each other and have chats, or like say that they called somebody and they helped them like get their
Yeah.
composure back. It's like so cool to see.
It is really, really cool to see, and it's really amazing that how this community can rally. And you see it over and over and over again. And we're protective of our own to a certain degree too. Like once you're kind of like beloved by the community, like we will like protect you to no end. So you can't like come out and come after them, because we're like, hey, we outnumber you, and we will come and defend our people, right? And it's so cool that like all these people are willing to be so transparent and so vulnerable to a degree. You know what I mean? Like that's just
No, I totally.
unusual.
It is, and it's I don't know if it's because people feel like I'm on the internet, so maybe I can be, I can be more open, because until the Fantasy Football Expo was a thing, like I'd met like a handful of people that I had talked to on Twitter, so
Right.
there's that. But I mean, also like when we were growing up, and like you had said, you were into sports because it kind of helped you stay in the closet.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get that. And like, I don't know, I feel like it's weird to see how younger people are nowadays when it comes to things that we were, you know what I mean? It's just like a different world. When you look at it, it's just like completely different. And I know it's been like that for generation and generation, but it's just, I never thought I'd get to
Yeah.
this point where I felt old and I'm like, wow.
Well, I don't think you're old. I certainly don't feel old, and so that's that's been a plus. So all my friends panicked about turning 30. I was not on the train of panicking about 30. It's really age has always just been a number to me. I'm all about like I've always been all about having fun. Like if I'm not having fun, I'm probably not gonna do whatever it is. Like even work, I usually don't pick jobs that I don't like to some degree. And my parents make fun of me for it all the time. Like that, like this youthful exuberance that I have. Like this is not a show. Like every podcast I've ever been on, you can go on and I have the exact same energy on all of them, because I'm just a ball of energy. Like I'm very excitable, and like I think that's just who I am, and I just own that. I can't hide it, because like I'll literally just start vibrating. So like I have to like let it out, or else I'll get like sick.
Yeah, I get that nervous energy, so I'm always like pacing and like doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know like where you guys get your energy from. But more power to you. Also, your body starts feeling it when you get a certain age, so maybe it didn't hit 30, but just
Maybe.
wait.
I hope not. I hope it doesn't. Like, I really would like it to hold off as long as possible. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm 39 and I'm going to turn 40 next month or in February, not next month. Wow, I'm aging myself here.
Yeah. So
No, I'm turning I'm turning 40, but I went to the doctor 2 days ago and they were like, "Well, you're turning 40 soon, so you need to book all these appointments." And I'm like,
so
"Really?
do
I'm
I?
there. I'm there now. Are we really serious about this?"
Yeah, there's a comedian who does a whole skit about like turning 40, like in the difference, like the doctor's appointments, like it's the one where they're like, you should close the door now. Like we're
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
get
like,
after it in here.
she probably saw me being like, face drop. Like, am I really 39? I thought I was 38. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Hey.
it's unsettling to turn a new decade. I will admit that, like being like, oh yeah, I'm 30. Like I'm in my 30s. That doesn't
It takes a
feel
little
right.
bit of time to, yeah, to kind of sink
You
in.
know, like
Yeah.
it definitely does. And like people ask me, like, how old are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm 20. Nope,
Mm.
I'm 30.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Mm. Yeah.
I don't feel 30. Like
More, I mean, yeah, I don't know. The energy thing, I've been talking to so many people on here that just come on and they're like, and I was like, man, I wish I had that energy for life, And I'm sure if I slept more, like maybe I'd have that energy because I know that when like Monday, I was like, oh yeah, I could totally podcast right now. It's so,
oh yeah.
because I slept well and everything. Yeah. So you get it.
Yeah, it's so funny. It just is like how I've always been, I guess. And like it's funny, people are like, "Oh, when," like people do ask like, "When do you sleep?" Because I always am like listing the things I like to do, and I'm like, I just don't. I'll
Mhm.
sleep for like 4 hours a night, like 4 to 6, and that's not like the grind set thing either. That's like a genetic thing. My mom doesn't sleep either. It's just me and her don't sleep. We don't need it. Um, and that's like because I hate when I hear people like, "Oh, you sleep a full 8 hours, like you're not after the grind." I'm like that's gross.
There was a point in time when that was cool. Every little trend comes and goes. I
Oh my
remember
god,
grind, yeah.
let that
And
die.
and for a while it felt like that way though. I will say that for a while it felt like the only way to like succeed is to just work, 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 work. But then you burn out and it's bad on your health. It's horrible on your health. And
Yeah,
you have to find a nice balance. And if you have the time to work, 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 cool, but find some time for yourself too, Like
right. And find the things that like even when you're working, like if you're gonna put that much time and effort into something, like you better be passionate about it. Like don't just grind for the sake of like something you
yeah,
don't care about.
that's kind of how I felt when I was like putting out like fantasy football content. Not that I didn't like doing it, but I felt like, okay, I need to just put out stuff. And not that I think I would have had a different mindset maybe if I like wasn't trying to grind, grind, grind because I'm sure my articles were just fine. But in my head, I was like, I've got to get out as much stuff as possible. I need to do this. I need to do that. And you really, depending
Yeah,
on where you are, you really don't have to do that.
yeah. And I just am someone who I do like having a lot of projects, and I love like all the projects I'm doing. Like, I mean, I have to have a job because I have to pay rent.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't sit here and lie to you and say, like, I love nursing more than anything else in the world. Like, I don't. I wouldn't do it for free. Hot take, I didn't feel like a hero during COVID. I didn't particularly love being called a hero during COVID because I wouldn't do it for free. So, like, I'm like, trust me, like,
I would
if I'm
totally save your life if you're paying
right,
me.
like, that was the thing, like, people were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're doing this," and I'm like, "Well, the check clears at the end of the week, so that's nice." It's like a real incentive to keep doing this, but, like, obviously, it's nice to be able to help people, especially when they're kinda going through it, and,
Right.
being in the ER, like, that's really where, you're almost never going through it worse than when you're in the emergency room, so,
Right.
it's, it's
But
just
that
kinda
was
my thing.
I bet that was I man, it doesn't feel like it was, 2019 was as far away from where we are now
I
as it
know.
is, but and just thinking back, yeah, like I work an office job, so we got to work from home and like you didn't get to experience that at
I did
all. It
not. I
was a
did not
completely
get
different experience for you, but not the way that like we had where we were like chilling at the house.
Yeah, and in a way, I'm honestly, like, grateful that my
Yeah.
job didn't make me do that,
Yeah.
because a lot of people just felt so lonely,
Yeah. I
and,
totally did.
like, it was so hard for people, and I felt so bad, but, like, a lot of my life didn't change because of work,
Mhm.
and so I was still going out in the community. Now I got COVID 5 times, so that's a downside,
Hey.
and one of them I was really like, "Oh, I'm in like, I'm in danger."
Oh.
Like, but,
Not good, not good.
like, I was like, "Uh-oh." But, like, yeah, I was going out and I was seeing my people and making sure they were good, and honestly, it helped them too because they weren't isolated from the world. Like, at least someone was coming to see them every day.
Right,
Now I was masked up and the whole shebang, but,
right.
at the end of the day, like, at least I got to, like, leave my house.
Yeah, that was the worst part. I thought I would enjoy not leaving the house, you know?
I enjoy not leaving the house when I don't want to leave the house,
Yeah, that's true.
but being
See,
told I
that's what it
can't,
is. Yeah, that's what it
like,
is.
the second I'm told I ca like, do you ever, like, wanna do the dishes or something, like, when you were a kid? Not like you wanted to, but you were going to do some chore,
Yeah.
and then your parents are like, "Do that chore," even, like, you were just about to do it, and all motivation for doing it just dies. Like, that's my life. Like, if you
I'm
tell me
kind
to
of
do something,
yeah.
like, I don't wanna do it. Like, I'm
I was
like,
gonna
"Oh,
say
I'm
I'm
gonna
like
do the
that
dishes."
too.
Like, it's so bad. It's probably like a toxic trait, but, like, it's like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go do the dishes. Someone's like, "You should do the dishes." I'm like, "Well, guess what I'm not doing now?"
yeah.
Like,
I
that.
know. My wife, she'll say like, "Go do the lawn." I'm like, or why haven't you done the laundry? Not like demanding, but like, why haven't you done the laundry? You were gonna do the laundry. I'm like, dude, I was just about to go
Like,
do the
yeah, you just killed
laundry.
all my motivation, you
Ugh,
harshed
now I
my
don't want
vibe.
to.
Right.
Ugh, now
Because
I'm
then
thinking
it
about all the
feels like a
bad things with
chore.
laundry. Oh yeah, and I don't want it to feel like a chore. No,
Right,
no, no. Chores shouldn't feel like chores, but hey, here we
right.
are. Here we are. So, okay, content creating is a big part of this podcast, putting out content, the
Yeah,
ways to do it, and people's experiences are all different. They're all over the place, which is cool. That's why I did this podcast. Not everybody does the same thing and it works, like you have to figure out what works for you. But before we talk about what works for you, how did you come about the fantasy football content creation side of everything?
yeah, that was, like I said, I was an English major. I love writing. There's something about sitting down and writing for me that's so therapeutic. And so I was like, I wonder if I could write about fantasy football. And I applied to a couple sites, and one said yes. And I just started. And I was like, I wonder if I'm going to like it. And I had no idea. I had never done it. I've never done anything like that. And it was so amazing to be able to put my own spin on these things and have it out there and be read by people and know that, like, my opinion on this matter mattered to some degree. It was on a website for the world to see, always there, and forever preserved on our wonderful internet. And, good takes are bad, which, I've had plenty of bad ones in my
Yeah,
life,
me
but,
too. Me too.
like,
It's cool.
rest in peace, Antonio Gibson. But, like, who I love, by the way. I still am like
Yeah,
Antonio Gibson fan.
people are still trying to tell me I need to go trade for him in a rebuild league that I'm in, but whatever.
Yeah, I love him so much, and I'm just so mad at Ron Rivera. But that's how it came to be. Is I
Yes.
was just like, I love writing, I love fantasy football. Is there a way to combine my two loves? Because I don't know, it was like just felt like the logical next step for what I wanted to do, and I wanted to get into this space, and I have, and it's been an amazing journey so far.
So when you first started putting out content, how did you figure out how to get more eyes on your content, and what have you found is helpful for you in getting more of an audience?
Honestly, it's so fun being real. Like, that has honestly been the number one thing is being transparent. For me, was the number one thing that grew my audience and got eyes on my content. Is I was trying so hard to be palatable, cookie cutter, not ruffle feathers, not make waves, not really do anything that's going to make me too noticeable, right? And
Mhm.
eventually I was like, you know what? And my little ascension in this realm really came from one tweet. And it kind of snowballed this whole thing. and it had nothing to do with fantasy football, which is kind of ironic, or very little to do with it. And it was just being myself and being open and honest and unapologetic in who I was and how I lived my life. And I sent a tweet out, and it's still pinned to my profile, and it just said, like, I lost followers because I had posted a picture. I had just gotten to like a couple, like 1,000 followers or something. Posted a picture of my now ex-boyfriend and I together, and lost a ton of followers, like instantly, like, and it was a significant number for what I had. And I was like, wow, that's so disappointing. And so I posted that, and the wrap up was, I lost him. And if you don't like me or want to follow me because I'm gay and I have my boyfriend and I want to, like, every once in a while acknowledge the fact that this person I love exists,
Right.
like, get fucked. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
And it picked up steam. A lot of eyes got on it. A lot of people picked it up. And people started following me because they were like, you know what? Like, that's refreshing that you kind of came out and were like, you know what? I'm not apologizing. As a matter of fact, like, I'm going to come out and insult you more. And that's kind of how this whole thing started. And I was like, you know what? People want me to be me. Right. And we want the people we follow on here to be authentic. You know, I don't watch movies and hope that the actors are all, you know, fake when they're in interviews and stuff like that. Like, I love movies, and I love to know that these people are people. And coming on, you know, being on different podcasts and meeting different people in the industry, you hope they're like how they seem online. Like, I hope that they're not pulling the wool over my eyes that much, you know? I want them to be real people. And we are flawed, and we're going to be wrong, and we're going to be, you know, gay, right? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we are. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. Like, it is what it is, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I'll own my wrong takes. I'm sorry I made them in hindsight, but at the time, the process was correct. And yeah, that's kind of how it all came to be, is that I found a lot of, like, life lessons in that, is just be yourself and own who you are, because that's what will make you stand out. Like, no one else can tell your story. Right. You have a very unique story, and only you can tell it. So that's kind of how I approach most of my life now.
I know for me, it's a lot easier now to open up and kind of just tell people, like, what's going on in my life, and, you know, all the stuff, the ups and the downs, you know, to be able to, like, go out there and actually be a person, which is really cool when you go to, like, the expo and people are like, thank you for talking about mental health, or thank you for, you know, talking about this artist, you know, music or whatever, you know, just right. Like I saw that, and it's, like, really cool, because there was always when I first started in the space, there was always a, like, stick to football kind of motto that was out there where people just didn't want to hear it. But now, I mean, honestly, you want to get to know these people. You want to get to know the people in the space, and you being able to share things that you've gone through and put that kind of content out. What made you feel like, I'm going to put that personal touch on this and continue to do that, and not kind of, I know, like, it could be easy to conform, like, go back to trying to be that cookie cutter, but how do you continue to motivate yourself to just, you know, go out there and do that? And for people who are kind of shy, who they just want to start off small, and they just want to share a little bit of themselves, how do you suggest they kind of open up to their audience?
So what works for me won't work for everybody, and I don't expect everybody to, like, it's all about how comfortable you are opening to your audience. And basically what makes me continue to do what I do is that I know while it's a small platform, it is a platform nonetheless. And even if, you know, if someone follows me and, like, looks up to what I'm doing and enjoys what I'm doing, I owe it to them to some degree to, like, acknowledge who I am. Because when I was a kid and watching or following or whatever, there weren't openly gay people for me to look up to all that often. There weren't people in media that wanted to talk about this stuff. It was taboo. It was used as a joke. Like, it was a very, you know, Will and Grace was really the pinnacle of, like, any sort of LGBT TV. And then Family Guy, South Park, and, you know, all that stuff got a hold, in The Simpsons, and we were a joke. And it didn't create a healthy dialogue, I don't think. And so I just want to be authentic, so people know that you can do that, and it's okay. be you, and it's going to be great. At least most of the time, right? People are going to come at you. And if you're a terrible human being, maybe be somebody else. But if you're like a good person, just be a good person and show us who you are, because that's who we're going to root for. Like, we're going to root for you that way.
And totally agree with you on that. Like, I know with my story, it's been crazy because like I've been on Twitter forever. So everybody's gotten to see, me go from having a boyfriend for this long and then go from here to there. And now here I am here. And it's like, but I'm sharing that with people. And like you were saying earlier, like you can either follow me because, you like who I am as a person. If you don't like something about me, you don't have to follow me. It's your choice. It's all of our choices, who we follow. So, but you don't need to tell me about it. That's one of the things.
And that's the thing. They love to, boy, do they love to tell you, right? Like,
yes, they do. Oh man.
On the way out the door, they have to make that point known. And I'm like, okay, like, what do you want me to do about it? Like,
that's why I'm just like, sure, mute. And then you can just argue with yourself. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care.
If you're going to unfollow me for who I kind of am, like, what do you want me to do about that? Like, apologize? No, that's not happening. So it does make me laugh a little bit. And but I think if people want to open up, I would say trust yourself to do it. Be secure in who you are, because people will poke, and they are going to. But own and don't waver on who you are. Don't like sell your morals out. Don't sell yourself out to try to be something you're not. Like, if you want to be authentic. But don't let anyone like dull your shine or whatever. Like, don't let them harsh your vibe. Don't let them drag you down. It's Twitter or X, and there's plenty of people who are faceless, nameless strings of letters and numbers that will do anything they can to be an a-hole. And like, what do you care what they think? Like, they're hiding behind their keyboard. Like, keyboard warriors don't mean shit. Like, I don't know. It's just how I feel about it. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. You
put out lifestyle content. You put out all kinds of different content. I mean, I saw List, and you give, like about Vocalist, and you've got a lot of really creative content and a lot of really different content. And I know you work with different people in the industry, different sites in the industry that really were founded on being creative and letting you express yourself. So how did you find a home for that kind of content? How did you go from just writing fantasy content to actually writing like about multiple things?
Yeah, I got to give some love to Seth over at IBT for that In Between Media. Like, when I kind of was like on the down and like not really belonging anywhere, I was kind of a free agent for a while. He brought me in and was like, hey man, I just think you're going to bring like a good energy. Like, you seem like you have it. And you like joining the team over at IBT has been amazing. They're so cool. And I know you had a couple of them on. I listened to their episodes, like Hoove and Ariel. I was gonna call her trash sandwiches, and I'm like I was gonna call her trash. Like, I'm like, don't call people trash. I'm like, don't call me trash. She will
respond.
I know she does, and that's the funniest thing. Like, oh yeah, I was talking to trash, and I'm like, I just can't believe that's how we refer to somebody.
That's how like Dynasty Outhouse. I'm like, my boy Russ, Outhouse. Outhouse.
Yeah.
Like, I'm calling somebody an outhouse.
It's so funny. Like, and that's just kind of how we get there. And the team over there is so amazing, and they were so welcoming. And so Seth wanted someone to do their entertainment and handle a lot of the socials. And so I started doing that. And I'm a movie junkie. I love TV shows. I love music. And I was like, yeah, you want me to write about entertainment? Like, let me tell you, I can write a lot. I can write even more about that than I can fantasy football. Like, I will talk all day about movies and TV shows. I'm almost single-handedly keeping the AMC near me in business because I go to the movies so much. Like I'm there. I'm so hyped. Like, I was there at the Marvels, like the day it opened, right, with my popcorn and my root beer. And like, I try to eat healthy now, but when I go to the movies, I just become feral. I don't know what happens to me. I like need all the junk food, and it like makes me take a mortgage out to pay for it. But nonetheless, I do it, and I'm there with my popcorn and my root beer and my cookie dough bites, and I just like am having the best time of my life. And then I come home and I'm like, God, that movie was so good. I need to unwind with like a TV show, and like it just kind of like spirals into this thing. And then anytime I'm writing, I need music. I can't. People who can write without music or drive without music are either super powered or psychotic. I don't know which yet. I haven't figured it out. And my friend makes fun of me a lot because I'll listen to the same song. So this is going to make me sound like a psychopath. I listen to the same song over and over and over and over and over again when I'm writing. If I find the right like flow with it, I'll throw it on repeat. And I've listened to songs like for 5 hours straight as I'm working, like just the same song. And I'm doing that right now. Like right now, the same song has been on my rotation. I'm not even kidding, since last night.
Wow.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that, but
it's bad. It's bad.
Are you on Spotify or are you
I'm on Spotify.
So would that
Spotify.
Wrapped tell you that like you listen to like a million
Oh my God.
hours?
so Wrapped loves to just bury me every year. I'm always in the top 0.01% of whatever fixation I'm on. Number one will always be Shinedown. I'm always in the top 0.01% of Shinedown fans. I love Shinedown. I've seen them 11 times in concert. Anytime they come around, I'm there. I'm going. I went twice in 1 week this year. I was so hyped. But like, because I do this, like I'll be in the top like 5% of fans for like all these weird artists. And like this one that I'm on right now, like Black Veil Brides. I don't really listen to Black Veil Brides all that much, but I'm going to listen to Andy Black. Like it's called We Don't Have to Dance. I think this song's an absolute bop. The problem is I've probably put like 15 hours of it on so far. So like Spotify's like, you love all of his music. Here it is. And like, I'm like, no, you're ruining my algorithm. But it was like that with Hamilton. The Hamilton soundtrack was.
I did that. I did that at work before I had even like seen Hamilton. I was so like, bad. Whatever.
So I like held out on Hamilton. I was like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, and then Disney Plus dropped it, and I like saw like some of the previews, and I was like, I'm gonna watch that because I love musical theater. I don't know why I was like anti-Hamilton. I think it got too popular. I think sometimes like if things get way too popular, I'm like, I don't want to watch it. Like,
they get kind of corny when they get too popular.
Yeah, like Game of Thrones turned into that. And I held out for a long time. I should have held out longer because it turned terrible. But Hamilton soundtrack was like that. But when I'm into something, I'm like into it. So that hyperfixation can happen, and that's just having ADHD, and that's what we do. So.
You brought up Marvel because it's funny. People bring that up all the time on this show, and I'm always like, haven't seen any Marvel movies. I'm like,
you've seen none?
0%.
How? Like you figured just by accident you would have stumbled into one.
You would think, right? I don't know. Like I guess I'm just really good at avoiding.
I guess so.
Avoiding things. I don't know how it hasn't happened. My wife isn't into Marvel, so maybe being around, the creature of I watch this. We kind of have to pick what we both want to watch, and whatever. She's never said let's watch Marvel movies, so I haven't.
I love it, and I've loved it since like day one. I'm like, and I'm not even a comic book guy. Like I'm such a fake Marvel fan. Like people were like, oh, I know the comic books and I know where they're going with it. And I'm like, just put the movies out and I'm there. You got me.
I heard that new one that's out isn't doing so well at the box office.
It's doing terribly at the box office, and it's driving me crazy. It drives me crazy that this movie is doing better. But that's showbiz for you, I guess, to some degree. Like the hate this movie gets is so like I could go on this whole like soapbox rant about it, but I won't because it just annoys me anyway. But I thought it was great. If you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I don't know if I want to go see the Marvels. Yes, you do. You want to go see it. It's funny. It's action packed. It's so good. I'm like Marvel, sponsor me or something. Like, because I'm here for it. Like, I will support all of their. I love it. I just am so into it. I thought this one was such a big step in the right direction. I thought they've stumbled a little with some of the movies lately. They haven't been as good. This one felt like a really strong movie. And it was funny, it was action-packed, and it tugged on your heartstrings. And I'm like, what more do you want out of a movie?
Okay. Well, then maybe that'll be one that I check out. I don't know. I feel like maybe I have seen. You know what? I saw Black Panther.
All right, Black Panther was a good one to watch because it was very
We were in
standalone.
Mexico, and when they close the pool down, it's like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? So we watched Black Panther. So yeah, that was a good movie.
There you go. Yeah, I am 100% sold on going to Marvel movies. When Avengers Infinity War came out, I was in Las Vegas for vacation with my friends. And me and my buddy were like, hey, we're going to go watch the new Avengers movie. And people were like, you're in Vegas. What do you mean? And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, it came out today. Listen, I didn't schedule when Marvel was dropping this. So, I got to be there.
Right.
And I was there. I was there. I was crying. I cry during movies now. Like, that's a new thing for me.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, it's awful. I hate
haven't
it.
been to the movies in so long.
Oh my God. So I used to never cry over anything. And then I don't know what happened. I met my ex, fell in love, and I got in touch with my emotions. And now I cry all the time. And movies and TV shows just make me bawl my eyes out, and books do that too. I'll be reading something and I'll just start crying. And I'm like, this is so embarrassing. I'm so glad I live alone.
Yeah,
How do you explain that to someone? A movie, at least they can see and hear what you're seeing and hearing and be like, I get it. If you're reading a book and you start crying, you just look like a psychopath.
But what if you're reading it and you start laughing about something? Is that okay?
No, none of it's okay. Reading is a very dangerous public activity.
I do. My wife will be reading and she'll laugh sometimes, and I'm like, "What the hell are you laughing at? You're not on your phone looking at memes. I don't know what you're doing."
That's what I mean, and because it's all in your head too. It's not created anywhere. It's just words, and then you've created whatever image or tone in your head.
Right.
So you've told yourself the joke in the way you'd find the joke funny. It makes you sound insane. And
it's
I
when
love
you find your jokes funny and nobody else does, but you're like, but the way.
Oh my God. You know what's so funny is sometimes I tell jokes and I don't even mean for them to be jokes and people laugh. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Cause I don't know. I don't know if you ever run into this problem, but I don't try to be funny. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, I get that.
People who try to be funny, there are people who try to be funny and then there are people who are funny. And I don't think I'm the funniest human being on the planet or anything like that. But and everyone who's always I feel like a drum, a snare and a cymbal should follow, guy. I mean, come on.
I mean, with joke telling too, I found I'll tell a joke and sometimes people will mishear what I say and think it's hilarious. Oh my God, again.
Oh, it's even worse.
Half the time it is even funnier than whatever I say.
Oh, it's the worst feeling in the world
because you're like, for it, or you're like, that's not even funny that way.
Oh, it's so hurtful. And it hurts, right? It hurts.
Yeah, it does hurt. It's oh, you didn't hear it right, and you thought that was funnier. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it's no. Or when someone asks you to repeat a part of a joke, don't do that. Don't do that.
Then I have to remember how I was telling it.
And it's not going to be funny the second time.
Funny the second time I say it. I didn't deliver it the same way.
Don't ask me to repeat myself. That's mean.
Right. That is a little mean. Well, okay. You're very outgoing when it comes to talking on podcasts. This feels really comfortable, and you have a good podcast, persona. Not just persona, but the way that you present yourself, and when you talk, I like the fact that you have that confidence behind your voice. But has it always been like that, or when you had to get behind the camera or in front of the camera and behind the microphone, how was that for you?
So no, it's never. So this, let me tell you. So I'm better. It's all. I will tell you. I've been comfortable in front of the camera. I am not comfortable off camera. I am much more unsure in person. This feels to some degree safe, right? I'm in my house on my computer, in my little office thing, and I can usually have some preparation time, right? For whatever I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I'm coming on. Now, this show, there is no prep, right? Like I kind of came in and
Just have to know about your life.
I have to know about myself, which is daunting nonetheless.
Yeah.
But thankfully you're very good at making people feel comfortable and like letting us like exist in this space. And that's really cool. But it really has been a practice skill for me to try to take this energy into the real world. And be as confident and be as on, because I tend to be really shy and people don't believe me when I say that. Like if I haven't gone to the expo yet. I plan on going this year because the IBT people are like, you have to go.
Yeah.
And I meet people in person, and some people who like have gotten to know me through different things are like, you're so quiet. And I'm like, I'm just really nervous.
Right.
Like I don't want to say the
Valid.
wrong thing or be annoying. So it's just like so funny that on podcasts I'm as comfortable as I can be, and then I'll see you face to face and I'm like, hi. I'm like, that's the word.
Yes. Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to meet you in person. Like it is kind of awkward at
It's
first.
so awkward.
I mean, the reason I do my therapy online and not in person when I do video chat is because I feel more comfortable behind behind a microphone. Well, I don't use my microphone. I'm not over here. I mean, maybe I'd feel more comfortable with my like podcast setup, but I feel more comfortable that way. And I'm like, if I was to see my therapist out in public, like I would just like need her even more. Like, can you go back to your office and get on your computer and talk to me?
Yeah, for real. It's like, yeah, like
I just saw my therapist and it's you and you were
oh my God.
yeah, I don't know if I could.
It's so funny. I try to be like, one rule I always have in my life, in any podcast I'm on or when I'm talking to people, is I'm very much an open book. There's nothing someone can ask me about that I'm going to be like, don't ask me about that. That's not like, as long as it's about me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. And I read this thing and someone said, if you have social anxiety and you struggle with meeting people, pretend you've known them for 6 months. And that's been an approach I've taken a lot. So I make like jokes and things like that to people I just met, and they like kind of like taken aback because I haven't eased into the conversation, but I'm like, listen, if I ease into this conversation, we're just not going to speak very much. Like I'm going to just kind of nod politely a lot of the time.
So let me just take a dive in and
I'm like, just head
rip
first.
the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, you got to, because
I get that.
Yeah, but when people are like, oh, if you don't mind me asking, ask away, because there's nothing that's that serious you're going to ask me about that's like, oh, like I don't have any skeletons in my closet. You know what I mean? I didn't kill anybody and I'm not on the run. So as far as I know.
I mean, this would be the place to announce it, you know?
Yeah, no, I actually, I stole the Mona Lisa. The one in the Louvre is a fake.
Oh.
Yeah. Total side note, but I think if I had to be a criminal, I would be an art thief.
I like this. This is that would be a great question to ask people coming forward. What they would, let me add that to my list.
Add it to your list. Like, let me tell you, like the things I think about all day long, like it's like a circus. Because otherwise I'll just drive myself crazy at work and stuff. And you need to unwind. You just need to escape into funny things.
Yeah.
But being an art thief, like I can't think of anything sexier on earth than being an art thief. Like, are you kidding me? They're like, what do you do for a living? And you're like, I steal art. Like, I rob museums. Like, for the thrill.
How many people are you telling this to?
I gotta tell you, if someone told me that and they were like, I don't know if you can be with me, I'm an art thief, I'd be like, I'll marry you today.
There you go. Okay. Are you good at being an art thief? Or
I think I would be fantastic at it. I think I would be fantastic.
That would definitely be a question I'd ask before I married anyone is, are you good at it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because like if they get locked, I don't know how long you get locked away for though. Like that's the thing is it's more of a victimless crime.
Yeah, you get a slap on the wrist.
Museums in general, like they usually belong to other people, and like they just wind up in whatever museum they're at. From like, especially old Renaissance paintings were like stolen. I'm like, I feel like I'm doing the world a service here. I feel like I could be a really good art thief though. I think I could do it.
Should go into like, doctor's office bathrooms and steal their artwork and just start doing it all around town.
Yeah,
and that would be like a small time art thief just to kind of get
small.
it going. and then go
Yeah,
from there. You always got to start with little goals and then move up to your dreams.
yeah, no, I think the Mona Lisa would definitely be a dream steal though.
Yeah, I
And
think.
it's portable.
I
It's not
mean,
as big as people think it is. It's literally like yay big. Like, you know what I mean? It's probably, I think it's like
feels like you've been thinking about this for a while. I know you said you you
more
think about
thought
this
more thought
stuff.
has gone into this than I care to admit, but I'm about to admit. I think about this often. This is my Roman Empire, is how like good would I be as an art thief?
Well, you might have to write a script or a book or something with your.
I would love it. I would love it. Like the problem is that it just would be me living out my fantasy in
Yeah.
like book form, and I don't think anyone wants to listen to me like drone on and on about how sexy art thieves are.
I'm pretty sure art thieves want to read something like that. They want to be told they're sexy.
I guess so. You know what? I guess I haven't been very sensitive to the
Just
art
have,
thief
you
community.
just have to find your little pocket of, how everybody's always like, even me included, be original. You just got to find your little niche. You got to find it, and you got to, if it's art thieves, then it's art thieves.
Yeah, and I think that's worrisome that that's like the demographic of men that I want to like marry. It's like international art thieves, and
I
I think
mean,
it's nice because you're not always together, which I think is nice and healthy. I don't always want to be
yeah,
around people.
yeah,
I need my quiet time too, and I'm sure
definitely.
I like when a man's passionate about their work to some degree. So
And you said it's victimless. It's victimless,
it's
so
victimless. No one's getting hurt. He's making good
that's the
money.
best part of it.
Like he's bringing home the bacon, right? Our house is probably beautiful, covered in all these mosaics and priceless art forms that he has stolen, although he's probably selling them.
Yeah, probably selling them. Maybe you can
Which
hang
then,
them up for like 2 days just to have
yeah,
them.
but like I just think I think people are being really short-sighted about not dating art thieves.
That is probably the best. Like, if I gave episodes titles, it would have to have something like that involved in the title of this
Yeah,
one, just because people would be like, "Huh?
right. Like marry an
Okay."
art thief. It's like what?
Okay, so you said that you haven't been to the expo. Have you ever gotten the opportunity to meet someone from the fantasy football community, or has it been not really something that you've
Not
had
in
the opportunity?
person. Not
No.
in person yet.
Well, how
Um,
about like when you go on people's podcast? How do you prepare yourself for going on there? And then how do you kind of keep the conversation going with the host and, feel comfortable?
um, I I go on. So when I'm preparing for a podcast, I'll read through like the show sheet that they usually send me, and I try not. One thing I try not to do is actually over prepare. I like to leave room for improvisation and these little side tangents that I seem to go on. And sometimes like I'll say something and it'll click something else in my head and I'm kind of just on to the next topic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the host will say something and it like clicks that and I kind of just roll with that.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm not someone who scripts out my stuff. A lot of people will write out what they want to say exactly like verbatim on the show sheet. And that's just not me. I can't function that way. Because I'll sound super, super, super like stiff. Uh, and there's no way to write the level, like the manic level of like marrying an art thief that goes on in my head. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way to put that on paper. Like this
No.
absolute like idiocy that like floods out of my mouth half the time. But it's all for fun, and that's what I remind
Right.
myself every time. Is it's supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be a good time. You want people to tune in and be like, "Oh, this is entertaining." Like if I sat here and I was like, "Here are the facts and figures that mean that Antonio Gibson is going to finish as a top 10 running back," and one of them isn't because I fucking believe it in my soul. Because have you seen that man and watched him
This
run a
is
ball?
an Antonio Gibson safe space. We love him here. We're
I
good.
love Antonio Gibson so much. There are three players in the NFL I truly love, and it's Deontay Johnson, Antonio Gibson, and Chris Godwin. Um, my teams in fantasy football are frequently named "Glory be to Godwin." Um,
Okay,
like
yeah.
I love Antonio Gibson. I've been on the anti Ron Rivera train for years now. Like I've been like the conductor of that. I would like it's gotten to the point that I feel hostile toward Ron Rivera, like because I'm like, why are you doing this to Antonio Gibson? Like, what did he do to you? I really feel like he's robbing the fantasy community of like an elite running back.
I mean, I always have a thing for the Washington running backs. I'm always like Chris Thompson back in the back. I would
Oh,
say
love
in the
that.
day, but that
Yeah,
was my dude, right? But I'm a Cowboys fan, so
it's
it
tough.
feels weird until like Jameson Crowder when he got traded. I was like, yeah, because I don't have to, but then he's
Right, you get to root
back,
for
and then
them.
you're like, and then you're like, so it's like
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
how do
So,
you? No, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Like, yeah, it's just that's being a fantasy football fan, though, right? It's just kind of the
Yeah.
old.
Well, how do you figure out, or how did you come to want those guys as your favorites? Like, how did you find those guys? How are they your favorite?
I wish I knew. Like, it's honestly like I wish I knew why this happened. Honestly, Chris Godwin, all of them because I drafted them
Right?
the year they blew up,
Yeah.
and I got them for like a song and a dance. Like I drafted Chris Godwin like the 7th round, the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, and he was the wide receiver 2 on the year with Jameis, and like I was like, yeah, Chris Godwin. Like, and then you just wind up being a fan.
Yeah.
I've always said people like, who's your favorite NFL team? I don't have one. I root for my fantasy team. Exclusively because I didn't care enough about the NFL to like become a Patriots fan. I root for players, not teams. So like when Brady went to the Bucks, I was like, I don't care. I'm a Bucks fan now, I guess. Like I will root for Tom
You're
Brady.
like, I know that. Yeah, I know what's good. I'm gonna follow the good players, and I get that. And having that attachment to a player because you drafted them and you got them for a steal, I totally feel that. Or like I met a player one time and I was just like,
That'll do it too.
you're Cortland Sutton. I'm like, okay. I met him and he was the nicest guy ever. And I was like, but you're going to be on all of my dynasty
All
teams.
your teams.
Oh my
right?
God. You have to be.
Yeah. That happens. And then like I'm not even ashamed to admit this. I'm a huge Zach Wilson fan. If you've looked at my Twitter at all, any of your listeners, you'll see it pop up periodically that I'm like Team Zach Wilson. And I'm always like, that's my, like, I think in my profile it still says Zach Wilson's future husband. I'm not sure. But like, he's one that I'm like, he's just eye candy, right? Like, he's so good looking to me. I'm like, oh my God, Zach Wilson. So, like, became a huge fan of his. I do think Robert Saleh is doing him dirty too. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like a lot of these guys are getting done dirty. It's like, man, I
they
start
are.
liking a guy and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're on a Gardner Minshew wave for a while. You're like, yeah, that's what's up. You got Josh Dobbs out there right now, like doing some stuff that we didn't know was possible. Like, okay, dude,
I
where'd
am
that come
stunned by
from?
him. He is amazing. But yeah, I think I curse players a lot when I start to like them.
Oh
And
yeah,
it happened since my like childhood.
yeah.
I was in 8th grade. I read Sean Alexander's autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's my guy. Brett Favre and Sean Alexander were my 2 favorite players. And look how that turned out for them. The next year in 2008, Sean Alexander like became bad because he was hurt. And then Brett Favre turned out to be Brett Favre, which is just the worst. And as a child, like being like a Brett Favre super fan,
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh no, my hero has fallen and is now stealing from the poor, like some sort of weird anti-Robin Hood.
He's stealing from me too because like before all of that, like I was selling jerseys and I have a Brett Favre jersey that is from the 90s or whatever, and I was like, sweet. And then like I'm like, now what?
Yeah, now what? Like
And now
might
I
as well
can't
even give that away now. No one wants to be in a Brett
I might
Favre
just
jersey.
set it down in the break room at work and see if anybody picks it up and takes it. But
Try to sell it to Brett Favre. Maybe he'll take it.
ooh. Okay. I don't know if he has like the capability to like
Or go to
message
Mississippi.
on his-
Go to Mississippi and just
Yeah.
like hold a sign up that says like $20 to burn this jersey.
Ooh, look at you and all of these business ideas. I'm trying to find some side hustles.
I'm there.
Okay.
I'm there. If there's one thing I know how to do is how to piss off a whole bunch of people.
Mississippi is not too far from Dallas, so I could.
Yeah,
I
it's
could
so
maybe-
funny. So you asked about like meeting people in the fantasy community. I don't
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
is going on with Boston. There's no one here. Like I'm the only fantasy analyst I know from this area. Me and Trash Sandwiches.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like I know. I'd have to like go research. Maybe I'll make you a list if I can find some.
Like I'd love to go out to lunch with some of them if I know them. Like I mean, it's
I
just
want
like
to do that too around here, and I just never get around to it because like we're all outside of Dallas, so it's like
yeah. And I keep joining these sites that like everyone like IBT, like everyone's from the Midwest at IBT. Like me and Ariel are from New England, and that's it. Like, and then the rest of them are like these like Wisconsin, like Indiana, like, which makes sense because they love NASCAR, and I'm like, we don't care about NASCAR here.
NASCAR, man. I did see a lot of the NASCAR content with IBT coming out.
They love it. They love it. I don't even understand NASCAR, and I'm not even here to knock IBT stuff because I love them.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, this is the most boring sport on the planet. Everyone's just turning left at like a high speed, and it's only exciting when someone turns right. And that's a terrible thing to wish upon people because I'm like, where's the wreck? It's like watching hockey and waiting for a fight, you know? Like that's what I watch it for. Because I can't watch hockey either. I don't
well, hockey is one of those that I have to watch in person. So maybe it's the same thing with cars whizzing by me. I don't know.
I can't imagine that's. I'm like, I just go on the highway. Like, like, why is this different?
Go on the highway. Let's go, Toyota.
Right,
Corolla,
like,
let's go.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's just like, oh, and they made a circle, like, and they're gonna do that, and then the Daytona 500 happens, and they're like, they're gonna do this 280 times or something crazy like that. And I'm like, what do you mean 280 times? I'm gonna watch them go around in a circle like this.
Every now and then, I'll be like, I'll catch myself watching it. I'll be like hungover, and that's like my I'm awake, but I kind of want to be asleep. Kind of.
You'll never catch me watching NASCAR, especially if I'm like hungover, which is rare. But like,
especially if I'm hungover.
Just hearing like, I'm like, oh god, it's just not for me.
Just mute it, and then you'll just have you don't need to see cars just driving around. It kind of puts you to sleep. You'll be all right.
Yeah, that's what it'll do. Like, yeah, maybe I'll just throw it on mute. Like, yeah, that's another thing that I need TV to sleep. Maybe that's where a lot of my weird stuff comes from because I put on weird shows to fall asleep to, like Bob's Burgers.
That's a show I haven't seen.
It's hilarious and it's absurd. So
people will know that my TV watching taste is all because my wife wants to watch it. I am that person who just like, when you're out of town, I'll watch what I want to watch. But I have seen people dress up as Bob's Burgers characters for Halloween.
Oh, I love it. I would love to dress as like Bob for Halloween, but I refuse to have a mustache. Like just a mustache. Like I refuse.
No mustache, huh?
I will not do it. I will not do it.
Have you ever had a mustache?
No, I never went through my mustache era, and I never will. It's like,
have you ever like tried to use some sort of filter to see what you would look like with just a mustache?
No, because it would be bad. It can only go bad. Like I don't know. Like
are you a beard guy?
Always bearded. This is always
bearded.
I'm always like this. I'm always, nothing crazy long, just kind of like trimmed back. I don't have the face for clean shaven. I'm not that cute. So
no, the beard looks good, and nobody can actually see this because this is an audio podcast. But yeah, beards. I'm always like, yeah, because I used to. Here we go with me telling stories about dating guys. But I used to date a guy who I didn't realize I was this person. But when he shaved, I was like, who the hell are you, and why am I dating you?
Yeah, no, I think if I shaved, if I went clean shaven, I haven't been clean shaven since I was probably 22. And when I would go clean shaven, like I was probably in my mid 20s, actually, I was working as an EMT and I got carded to go to an R-rated movie. Whoa. So like I'm like, this is insane. I'm not doing this. And like, I don't know. I never lost the baby fat off my face. Like my cheeks never like thinned out.
Yeah.
So I like need the beard to give me some sort of definition. So it's better for everybody involved if I just keep it. It's a public service I provide.
Well, I mean, I did one of those filters where it gave me a beard, and I did look just like my ex-boy, like it was. He was like, "What the hell are you?" Because I posted it on Facebook. I'm like, "Where the old people hang out." And I'm like, "Look at this," and everybody's like, "Wow, you look like your ex-boyfriend." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I do."
Yeah,
what the hell? I would be a hideous man. I'm like, nah, I'm good. So okay. What do you like to do in your free time? What do you do when you're not working, you're not putting out content, you got some time and you get to do what you like to do?
If I'm not hanging out with my family or friends, I am creating something. I am writing, working on a novel. I like to make graphics in my free time. I am working on music. I make music and record music. It's always about creativity. And then I play like video games here or there, and I go to the movies and watch TV, and I read. I read a lot. I'm a big time reader. I think I've read like 80 books this year.
Wow.
So Yeah, like it's a real thing. Like I've always been that. I was like that kid in school that was kind of I always got in trouble, which is a weird thing to get in trouble for reading in class. It was the only thing I did that was like
It is a weird
really
thing to get in
like
trouble for.
because then otherwise like I was in trouble for other things and I'm like, why won't you just leave me alone and let me do my thing? Like I'm like, let me tell you this. If everybody in this classroom was doing exactly what I'm doing right now, like you'd have no problems. But because I'm the only one doing it, it's like an issue.
That's how I feel at
Uh
work sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I'm a reader. I like disappearing into creative stuff. I love reading people's creativity. I love being creative. And then I get tattoos and I do
Yeah,
all
I was gonna
that
ask you
stuff.
about those.
Yeah, I'm like always like I'm on the hunt for something. I dye my hair. Like
That
I
looks
just
good.
thanks. This is actually I wish it was prettier. I'm glad this is not a like a visual podcast because I'm in the middle of like growing it out. And so it's at that awkward stage I can't do anything with. And I haven't dyed it in like a month. So
Uh, I don't
I need
miss the
to
days of dyeing my hair. I used to dye my hair black, and I was like,
black. See, I don't go black because like the
"Whoa!" I had
sides,
like a good
it's
5
so
years
dark.
there, or whatever,
Like
6, 7.
look how dark my hair is like all the time. Like so I'm like I went bleach blonde. Like I was platinum blonde a few
Oh
months
man,
ago.
boy band.
Oh yeah, like Draco Malfoy, like full on Draco Malfoy colored hair. It was
Wow,
amazing. My hairdresser just like so much love to her. She's amazing.
that's dope. Okay, I'm getting the picture right now.
It's
Like,
I'm kind of like I love to do as many different things as I can that just let me be me and
right on.
exist and be an individual. So
And that's why IBT I think is so dope because I guess I'm on this IBT kick where I've had guests on recently that I have been on because I really like their personalities. So that says something about, how you guys are able to be yourselves. And I really like that. What is that the only thing you're doing right now, or what else do you have that you do?
so I actually work with IBT and I'm also with the High Point Creator Network. So if you've seen it out there, either positively or negatively, because we got a little kickback uh, early on, but I'm working with Dez and Luke Sawhook and doing that, and it's been so much fun and so exciting. Like to try to help this part grow too. Because
Mhm.
while I focus on entertainment and social media stuff for IBT, I get to scratch my fantasy football itch with High Point. And again, talk about a supportive group of people. Like we were all these random people kind of brought together to do this thing. And even like, even Dez, like I gotta give some love to Dez Bryant. Like he's in the interactions we've had, we were on a group call. He jumped on. He was friendly and engaging. And I heard he was like that at the expo this year, like
Definitely.
just so kind
100%.
and so welcoming. And he really believes in the vision that he has for this and the vision that the team is building. And to be a part of that is such an honor for someone like, and that's how I feel about IBT too. Like Seth is trying so hard to make this dream of his a reality.
It's so awesome to see. I
And,
feel I'm so jealous of like people when I was that age, what was I doing? And now I'm looking at not jealous, but I'm like, why I didn't know that was a thing you would be able to do.
well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't though. Like at the
It
time,
wasn't.
it wasn't.
And so
And
now
like,
I'm like, man, you guys are so lucky.
yeah, and I just like for him to have like we kind of connected through the Pros with Joe's
Hmm.
charity league, and that's been an honor that I've been a part of for a few years now too.
Yeah.
Always raising money for like the Trevor Project. Gotta give them love too.
Hmm.
But I talked to Seth, and then I kind of found out that he did IBT, and I was like, man, this kid's got like I call him a kid. He's like 4 years younger than me, but like
Well, I can
he's
call him a
got
kid. He's a
he's
kid.
got this energy about him. Like you've talked to Seth, and he's just
Yeah.
it,
He's
he
super. You can tell he's so
so
in love
passionate.
with fantasy football and so in love with people telling their stories. You can tell, and he only wants the best for people. I feel
And
like he's like
he's
a little
so
talent scout.
sweet. Like he is. He's so sweet. He's like this little ray of sunshine. And like it's so funny because I kind of gave him a hard time when we were actually on a video call tonight. I gave him a hard time because I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, like he likes the graphics to kind of mimic the site, and it's always bright and colorful and earth tones. And
Yeah, I have
I'm
noticed
like, I
things
feel like
like
this
that.
reflects you quite a bit. Because the graphics I usually do are like grungy and like rock and roll, and he's very pop
Punk rock
and like
kids.
yeah,
Let's
and I'm like,
go.
yeah, like let's make it like loud and graffiti and paint smears and
yeah, the aesthetic that I'm into. Yeah, let's
oh
go.
yeah, like it's so funny because like uh, he's so sweet. Like he really is. He's like the nicest guy. And he's got an eye for like assembling people because he's assembled this team that I'm like, how did you do this? Like, how did you
Right?
do this? Like, how are you so right on? How are you hitting on this every time? You know, and but now the culture's there, right? He's laid out
Yeah.
this culture and made this culture that you have to buy into. Like, you got to
Yeah.
be a part of the team, and it's just amazing. I can't give enough love to him. I can't give enough love to the IBT team, the High Point Creator Network team, Des, Luke, all my other creators, the Pros with Joe stuff, all the people I've met through this
Right?
app.
It's so
I
awesome.
mean, look at the platform you've given people on
It
this show.
I love it so much. Love. Like, I wish I was better at actually scheduling people. I'm so bad. You know that I'm so bad. You
I
saw.
was so annoying. I felt so bad. I'm like,
No,
I need to
don't
get
feel
on this show.
annoying. I'm one of those people that, like, I feel like I need to tell people, like, I'm gonna get back to you by this time, and then I don't do it. And then I'm like, I'm so sorry, life happens. And I went through some Seth was one of the people I talked to. I was going through some stuff and I was trying to figure out, like, what do I want to do with my life? And I'm talking to this
Yeah.
kid in his 20s and I'm almost 40, but like it's nice to get a nice, talking to my
It's
dad about like careers and
oh my God, yeah. Like sometimes
like,
you can't
don't
talk to
do
your parents. Like this
that.
is gonna be the part of the podcast. Like
Don't do that.
if you have a good relationship with your parents or a bad relationship with your parents, please don't listen to this part of the podcast too seriously. But like sometimes you can't talk to your parents about shit. Like
Mm-mm.
they because they want what's best for you so bad
Right.
that they're
Oh
like
my
the
gosh, yes.
safest path is the best path. And sometimes you just can't be safe. Sometimes you just gotta
And that's
close your
what
eyes
I've
and leap.
been trained embedded in my brain my entire life, right?
Yeah. I think that's a part of like the generation you and I kind of came from. Like
Yeah.
millennials, we were really drilled on the safe.
Yes, safe. And
Like be safe.
I've played it safe for so long and now I'm like, ooh, late 30s is the time to start trying to mix it up a little bit.
But why not? Like there's no bad time, right? Like
No.
it's not
Well,
a
life's too short. I've seen so many people pass away recently that haven't gotten to accomplish all the things that they want to do. And I'm like, I want to do more of the things that make me happy and less of the stuff that makes me just feel gross.
yeah, and honestly, it's not even about accomplishing it. It's about trying.
Yeah,
Like
right,
I can live if I fall short. I can live with that. I can't live with the fact that I didn't try though.
right. I feel that.
Like that's where I'm at in my life. So like, yeah, maybe my book will never get published. Maybe it'll never get picked up. That's okay.
Right.
At least I'm sitting down every day and writing it.
Yeah,
You know, like that's what I have to do. Otherwise,
yeah,
like, what am I doing? Like, it's just gonna drive me crazy.
yeah. You need fulfillment in your life. You need something that makes you feel good, and that's when you find something that makes you feel good, you want to keep doing it. And
Absolutely.
also, everybody tell Des to come on this show.
Hey, listen, I'll reach out. I'll send up the bat
I'm
signal.
just saying, if you want to come
Uh,
talk, he can use this as a platform. I don't care. Whatever you want to do,
I'll
I'm
definitely
cool with
throw it.
that.
I'll throw it out
Huge
there. I don't.
Cowboys fan. That's what's up. Yeah, you can't see it, but I got it. It's Cowboys.
I'll.
But yeah,
Luke has a better line than I do, but I'll
I know.
definitely.
I'm trying to get Luke on here too.
I'll
Our
talk to Luke
schedules.
for sure about that
Yeah,
because you should have him on here if you're a Cowboys fan. You should definitely have Des on here.
Yeah. My
And
dad was like, "You should have given him one of your flyers at the expo." I was like, "Stop it."
you should have. Like, what's the
Stop
worst that he
it.
can do? Like throw it away?
Throw
I
it
mean,
away.
at
Make a
least you.
favorite airplane and throw it back at me. That'd be kind of
Yeah,
cool,
but at
though.
least you tried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, like it's that whole idea.
Well, I mean,
Um,
no, but it's I've been actually talking to Luke because I want to get him on here, right? I'm just so bad. Like, I wish I had more time in the day to like talk to people and interview them and stuff. But I'm like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, time for me to go to bed. And also I need to eat dinner. And also my wife, just got off work and I need to be downstairs. And I have the fun chores that we were talking about, all the chores, like
all the
so
chores.
all the chores.
They never end. I've actually just stopped buying food. I eat out for every meal at this point because I'm like,
Uh,
A, groceries are too expensive. I hate grocery shopping.
yeah,
The bane of my existence is grocery
it's
shopping.
not
Like,
fun.
I hate it. But you know what? This is actually kind of funny. I take for like second or third dates, I'll take people to grocery stores.
Really?
Because if I can have fun with you
Mm-hmm.
at the grocery store,
At the grocery store.
then I think we have something.
I get that. I totally get that. I always say that with my wife when we go to Walmart, that we're like, oh, remember this is like one of our first dates, because we'd go in there and just be stupid. It was
Yeah.
fun.
I told my ex-boyfriend I loved him when I drove him to the airport. That was the first time we ever said that I love you to each other. Was that absolutely annoying task that I had to do.
It is annoying.
He said it first, but still, like I had meant to say it, and he just beat
Yeah.
me to the punch, which was also annoying, by the way, because then I was
Then
like,
you're like,
I'm like, I meant to say it.
I meant to say it.
I'm
Look.
like, I wanted to say it. Like,
Okay, so I'm going to circle back to that actually, because like it would be weird to skip over. I say weird because like as a person in this community who isn't your normal straight human being, somebody that loves somebody that is, also a woman, I'm like, being on the internet, like I really haven't had any negative interactions with people. I've had maybe a couple, but it's more because I'm a woman and not because of who I choose to,
yeah,
and even when Matthew Berry was on here, he asked me about that. He was like, let me ask you a personal question. And he asked me about that. And, I said, I really haven't had that many issues, but you did bring up about your first article and, everything gaining traction. What was that experience like? And then like, what were you seeing? And then how did the people that were, supportive towards you, what was that like?
yeah. So it's been interesting. And it's funny. I talk about like kind of like the roller coaster that is social media,
Yeah.
and being when I came out like kind of on social media, it was met mostly with love, but it was met with a lot of unfollows. And that was basically what happened, is that
Yeah.
no one knew. And then I posted about it, and it created this thing, and then I responded, and that blew up. And then the elections came, and I don't know if you like to get into the politics of the world on this podcast, but it's just the
Put it
reality is,
open, whatever
yeah,
you want. It's whatever you
it
want the
was
world
so
to hear.
weird. I had this platform, and I was pretty, growing pretty big. And then the election came around, and I just felt like if I didn't use the platform I had to support my own community and people like me and children who were like me, who were afraid and so underrepresented and felt like they didn't have anybody in their corner, I'm like, I'm doing a disservice to like myself and the world. And I'm not that popular, but I was like, if I can just one person, right? Like it has to happen. And I refused to back off of it. And that kind of turned me from this like hot commodity into like a poison apple for a while, because I got political, which is like, you don't get political on social media, right? Like if you
Right.
want to, like, you
You should
kind of
have
have to
learned
appease
that.
everybody. But I knew it was going to come with backlash, and I knew I wasn't going to be that popular afterwards. But like, it makes me sad that you've experienced the hate that you've experienced for just being a woman, because like being gay, there's nothing you can do about that. You know what I mean? You didn't ask for that. Like, and people who are homophobic, I think to me are like the dumbest human beings on the planet, because like, really, like, how much work did you put into being straight? I guarantee I put a lot more work into being straight than any straight person on the planet. I tried so much harder to be straight than any straight person has ever tried to be straight. If it was a choice, let me tell you, I would have chose to be straight, because I didn't ask for what happened. But now that I can own who I am, now that I'm out and I am who I am, and I'm very, very, very okay with who I am. Like, I don't sit here and say, I'm proud to be. Like, you know what? I am very happy with who I am.
Mhm.
Now that I get to say that, like, I will never go back, and I wouldn't go back if I could now, because this is me. This is my life. And being able to love who I want openly has been so much a game changer. I was 28 years old when I came out. I mean, it's only been, I just posted about it like 2 years, like my coming out day was 2 years ago on like the 6th of this month. So maybe part of the reason I don't feel 30 is because like it's like a rebirth almost. You know what I mean? Like it's like a second birthday. I don't have to hide. I don't have to lie. I don't have to worry about who I'm seeing or what I'm doing or what music I'm listening to. And that's the thing that people don't understand. When you're hiding who you are, there's so many aspects of hiding. Like I wouldn't listen to certain music because I'm like, that's considered like gay music. Now, if you're straight, you can kind of just say, I don't care. But when you're so afraid of being found out, you won't do that. Like I love Celine Dion. Shout out Celine Dion. I love her. I love Cher. I love Lady Gaga. Right? Like, but I would never, ever, ever listen to them. Not even in my own car, on my own by myself, because I was so afraid of people finding out. And it wasn't that I was like ashamed of it. It was that I was afraid of how people would react to it.
Yeah.
And like, what kind of person would I be if I just let people sit with that and not stand up and say, hey, who you are is okay. Like, you are more than enough for this world. And frankly, you don't have to be enough for anybody. Be you. And that's good.
Mm-hmm. Be you. And really, yeah, it's like my situation. I don't know. It was like I was like 32 or whatever when, like, I guess we were talking about like the easy path, right? It has always been instilled in me is like, take the easy way, do the easy things,
Yeah.
get, and then life will be, at least you'll coast through. At least, you maybe you have to work a job you don't want to work, or maybe you have to date a person you don't want to date, but
Yeah.
in the long run, but that's not how it has to be. And once you figure that out, like once you figure out who you are, not just like who you've been told to be, it's like, ooh, like you
It's a
said, it's
game
just like,
changer.
it is. And so that goes for anything. Like if you feel like you need to go to therapy and then you finally go, and
Yeah.
that's a
Go to
game,
therapy.
that's like, woo,
Like, let me tell you right now, men who go to therapy are fucking hot. Like, that's hot. Like, that's sexy
we're
too.
finding
That's
out a lot that go to therapy and still art.
if you steal art and go to therapy, yo,
Still art.
you're a
Go to
10 all day long. I don't even have to look at you. I don't even have to look at your face. You're a 10. Anything else is gravy. Like, it's just, and it's so funny because sometimes I do things like I dye my hair or whatever, right? And people are like, wouldn't it just be easier if you didn't do those things? And I'm like, easier for who? You? Like, is that what, like,
Yeah.
who is that easier for? It's not easier for me. It's not easier for me to have to hide it.
Yeah.
Like, so again, I say this because my dad kind of said this as I was growing up and as my brother was growing up. It was always just like, be you, be you, be you. And coming out wasn't easy. Coming out's not easy. But you know what? Like, it's a lot easier than hiding who you are. At least it was for me. Like, after you're out, you're out. There's no more hiding. There's nothing else to do.
Mhm.
And you kind of just have to take a fuck it approach. Like, it just is what it is. Be yourself, because again, you have a story to tell. Everyone does. Now, some people, their stories are not great, like your Ted Bundy, which makes for excellent TV, but at the time just doesn't feel like the story that needs to be told. But like, there's a lot of beautiful stories out there. And this podcast is a really great way to hear so many amazing ones. And that's my favorite thing. Is like, I have it tattooed on my arm in here. This little quote down here. It says, "Enjoy the music of what happens." And I got that quote because I read it in a book. And what it means is that life is made up of, just like a symphony, made up of things that are really beautiful and things that are really not. Like, no one wants to listen to the trombone for hours on end. Well, Casey, I gotta tell you, you played the most annoying instrument on earth.
I mean, I didn't continue playing it.
You know what,
I played
like,
it for a
but
while,
like,
and
boom,
then
boom, boom, boom. Like, it's just not as pretty as the piano, right? Like, the piano's a gorgeous
I mean, the
instrument.
trombone's more.
Yeah, that I'm sorry, yeah, I was thinking of a tuba.
Tuba. Okay, see,
Yeah,
it could be worse.
yeah. Like, it's just like a big annoying instrument, right? Or like the triangle. Yeah, but when paired with the piano and the trumpets and all those things that are good, bad, ugly, they're fine, they're not great, all on their own, combined, they make a symphony. And life is a lot like that to me. There are really good things that happen to you. There are really bad things that happen to you. There are some good, there's some bad, there's some indifferent. But put together, that's the music of your life, and it creates the symphony that your life is. So you get to enjoy the music. You have to enjoy the music.
That is very brilliant advice, and awesome that you have that tattooed on you. Like, I'm I am a person who's like, I can't trust you unless you have one like inspirational, like meaningful quote tattooed on you. Sorry, it's just I do. So I was like, other
Yeah,
people
you heard
like,
it here. You have to get whatever
you have
quote
to
you
get
live
it,
by.
whatever
Find
you
your
have to.
mantra.
You have to. Sorry, or
I love quotes, and I love lyrics are like that a
lyrics.
lot for me. Like going back to Hamilton, and I know it was Aaron Burr who said it, but like I am inimitable, I am an original. Like what a beautiful sentiment.
That is
Like
beautiful. Look at that. And that's a and you know what? I love the fact that we're winding down here and we could actually end on like a really positive note. I'm always like, oh no, I don't want to end on something like too,
yeah,
but this is nice and nice and a quote to live by. So I like that a lot. Maybe that
yeah.
would be the title of the podcast if I had
Enjoy
done
the
this for
music of what
5 minutes.
happens. That's the whole key.
Enjoy.
That's how I smile every day, and it keeps me going.
That's
I love it.
awesome. Love it. I love it. Well, okay. Steve, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Like this has been such a fun conversation and I'm glad I got to know you for
Oh,
real.
thank you so much. This has been such an honor, truly, to be on this.
Well, thank you again. I just want you to go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you and then where all your work and content can be found.
Sure. So if you want to follow me on Twitter or X as it is now, it's at Steve_Lawson93. You'll find me over at High Point Creator Network. You'll find me at IBT Media. In Between Media is what IBT stands for. And honestly, follow me. If you have fantasy questions, my inbox is open to you. I will get to them. I love interacting with people and I love hearing from everyone. Like I just love seeing it. So yeah, I'm so grateful that you brought me on. Like let me come on this podcast and let me have your time. It's been so much fun.
Thank you again. Like for sure, come on and don't worry about wasting my time or taking up my time. You're not. I really enjoyed this. Has been a highlight of my day and I appreciate you coming on. So everybody, please go check out Steve's work and go follow Steve. Please, please, please. Also, make sure you come back next week for another episode of Get Real with Casey Kasem. And remember to stay rad.
Get real. Time to get real, everybody.